Hi everyone, I'm back again, and this time I'm going to talk about this hot plate I've been fixing up. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, hey, that looks familiar, well, because it's exactly the same model that they use in Fallout 4 and also Fallout 76, both good games. And I have been making it work. I've been derusting it, which took almost a full week because it was in bad shape, very bad shape. Replacing any of the old electrical parts and making it safe to use when I get my camper. Now, before I go any further, I'm just going to say I have a degree in engineering. I am an engineer. Don't try this at home. But for those who are curious, I'm going to show you how I did it. First off, I replaced the old electrical cable with a new one that is grounded. In this case, that was the old one. You can see how discolored the fabric is. The end point was pinched and it is not grounded whatsoever, which is bad. Fire hazard. 2, I'm going to be replacing the heating element coil with a brand new fresh one, like this. Once stretched out, it'll look like that. This is the old one, and you can see why it needed to be replaced. Now, we're going to open it up. Now, you can see all the wires I had to replace. The old ones were covered in asbestos, which not exactly food safe. And they were also pretty much in as bad shape as this. And I'm also going to apologize that my workstation is a train crash. Now, how this hot plate works is that this is a potentiometer. And what that means is it basically is an adjustable resistance. So let's say Mrs. Johnson in 1952 wants to make herself a grilled cheese sandwich. Well, it's off now. There's no power going through there. So there's no amperage going through here, which has resistance. Resistance and amperage is heat. So in this case, Mrs. Smith is going to turn down the resistance. This says high, but that basically means this potentiometer, it's not resisting anything that's coming through this power cable here. So all that amperage is going through this heater coil and generating, well, heat. And that's what you cook with. Now this thing is not plugged in, obviously, or else I wouldn't be messing with it like this. And if you're going to work on any project at all, I think it goes without saying, you work on it while it's unplugged. Although, to be fair, knowing some people on the internet, you do have to say that. Anyway, it's been a really fun project so far. One thing I loved about these old products is that they were meant to be repaired. So like this here actually helped me figure out the gauge of the wires to use on the inside. See, 550 watts. That did say 120 volts, but it's kind of peeling off. But most things are 120 volts, which is household standard in the US. So that led me to this. So you can calculate the gauge of wire that you need to use. One, you're going to need an ampacity chart. So you can find them online or at Home Depot, Lowe's, but it's basically a chart that tells you which wire gauge you're going to use for a project depending on the temperature of the project. In this case, it's a hot plate, it's going to get warm. And 2, the current flowing through it. Now current, electrical current, is measured in amps, which is using the letter I, which, I mean, I feel like it should be A, but you know, it is what it is. You can do 2 things. 1, you can calculate the amperage using voltage over resistance. Basically calculating, you know, if I took 120 volts and then if I use my ohm meter here to measure the resistance of the coil, I could, you know, calculate how many amps are flowing through it. That's one way to do it. Or I could take the measurements it already gave me and use the watts over the voltage. In this case, 550 watts over 120 volts gives us about 4.5 amps. In that case, we could use 14 gauge or 12 gauge wire. Now, kind of like how shotguns work, the lower the gauge, the bigger the wire. So the wire I used is 12. And in this case, it also says on the wire itself. It also tells you what temperature it goes up to, which is very nice. So when in doubt, go up. Because worst case scenario, it'll just take longer to heat up. But if you use a gauge that's too small, you're going to have a Sims 2-esque fire on your hands, which I don't recommend. It's kind of funny. There used to be a term called a curtain burner cable, which was used in some shoddy projects back in the day, when certain companies would use too low of a gauge of wire for their project, and it would start fires. So there you go. That's what I've been working on so far. Now, it does have a weird issue. For some reason, the low setting has absolutely no contact, but I've been working to clean it. And as soon as I figure out why that's not working, I'm probably going to cook something with it and show you all. So that's my hot plate.